And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection, your host, Robert Pictou. Our show today comes to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Tsimshian people. One of the largest independent national unions in Canada, the Christian Labour Association of Canada, or CLAC, has over 60,000 members working in a wide range of sectors: construction, education, emergency services, to name a few. On today's Open Connection, BC Manager of Government Relations Ryan Bruce hosts a panel discussion.
Activities up here in the north, all themed around economic resilience. We've come through a pretty interesting time, and there's challenges that we're faced with economically, but to be purposeful and intentional about ensuring we've got a resilient economy and diversified economy is really important. And what that means to me as a representative of CLAC, as a union that represents workers in all sectors of our economy, what that means to me and to our members is that it provides them the opportunity of choice, and it provides them an opportunity to follow their passions and to support their families and the communities they live. And so economic diversity is one thing, but I really want you to think about it in the context of men and women getting up to go to work each day, following their passions, supporting their families, their children, and having a quality of life and allow them to live and play in the communities that they work in. So with that, I'm going to introduce my panelists. Join me on my left here is Chad Fournier, the VP of Engineering and Operations at Pacific Northwest Gas. And then we've got Michael Pucci, Land and Economic Development Manager for the City of Terrace. And Megan Bowles is the Economic Development Officer with the Regional District of Kitimat-Stikine. So thank you, all three of you, for joining us today. To start off with, I'll just ask each of you to just kind of give a bit of an introduction to your organizations, and if there's any sort of special projects off the top that you want to touch on, and maybe touch on something personal about yourself and your connection to the region.
Thank you for having me. My name is Chad Fournier, Vice President of Operations and Engineering at Pacific Northern Gas. PNG is a local gas distribution and transmission utility. We're a small utility relative to the likes of Fortis BC, but we operate in the northwest and northeast part of the province. And I think what we try to do is acknowledge that the North is different. One of our slogans is "This is Northern Energy," and myself personally, born and raised in Kitimat, so I've grown up through my life living, going to school with members of the Haisla community. Started my career working at Hurricane Pulp and Paper. Was there when it closed. I saw Methanex leave the region, was fortunate to rebound from the closure of Hurricane and get work as an engineer working through the modernization of the Rio Tinto smelter in Kitimat. So I've been very fortunate. I understand the resilience that comes with the ebbs and flows of industry, particularly in the north. And but I also understand not everyone has been as fortunate. Not everyone's been as privileged. And so, what I try to bring to PNG every day is A, not losing sight of that, and B, trying to bring that very local context to the way we operate, the way we do business, the way we invest in relationships with our community partners.
My name is Michael Pucci. I'm the Lands and Economic Development Manager for the City of Terrace. I was born and raised on the lands of the Coast Tsimshian. And I've been welcomed here by the Tsimshian people of Kitsilus and Kitsim-Kalim. The City of Terrace is a very unique opportunity right now. There is a grand plan of power and export all around us. And the term hub for Terrace has been used many, many times in many, many industries. But I really believe there is a greater opportunity to be handled and a greater opportunity to be realized. Coming from Prince Rupert, having the mill closure, that was within my growing experience, and And seeing what the city has done and having some extension of my family working on that project with Watson Island and the remediation has given me some really neat insights and skills that Terrace can benefit from. And I think that the relationship that Kitsim-Kalem and Kitsillas have had with Terrace has not always been the best. And my goal 100% is to see this actually be a true relationship and a regional vision. There's 100,000 people or so between here and Prince George. That's not a lot of people, but it's a hell of a lot of land and a hell of a lot of resources. And so we need to work together. We want to work together, I think, is the true message.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. The Local Government Act is a primary legislation covering regional districts and improvement districts service provision and approval processes. The Act also applies broadly to all local governments. Let us rejoin the panel discussion with Regional District of Kinamestikeen's Economic Development Officer, Megan Bowles.
So for those of you who aren't familiar with the regional district, it's actually a really large geographical area. We go all the way up from Dease Lake over kind of to the Hazletons area, come down to Kitimat. So we, there's 6 electoral areas and 5 member municipalities kind of within our region. And we work to kind of represent the unincorporated areas and residents living within the regional district of Kinamestikeen and provide services to them. So personally, I am a settler and I'm super honored to be here today on the traditional territory of the Tsimshian people. Regional district is situated on a number of First Nations, and so being able to participate in those conversations here today, I'm super grateful.
Maybe I'll turn to Mike and Megan initially. Can you guys kind of shed a little light on when we think about economic diversity, and can you guys just share some of the work you're doing that kind of paints a picture of what that could look like, or your vision for what economic diversity looks like in your scopes of work?
Yeah, I'll go first. Traditionally, Terrace has been a service hub for, I'll call it industry, around trucking, around machinery, as well as had a strong forestry base. Obviously, we've seen the shift in the forestry industry, but I think that's okay. There is new horizon. The use of LNG and the LNG that comes through this area is what may be surprising to people. Terrace doesn't see a lot of grand benefit from that. We don't get the tax base that's associated with that. Yes, we get some employment as the service hub, but this is what brings the Resource Benefit Alliance really to the forefront. And so when I mentioned earlier about these opportunities that are on the horizon and that we can realize and grasp, I'll be honest with you, hydrogen is a key piece to success of Northern British Columbia. The export and use of hydrogen, and the use of hydrogen domestically here in the region, and then the export. And it's a regional vision. You've heard maybe of Fortescue and the hydro project in Prince George. The resources that area has relationship to hydrogen production is not as grand as Terrace. The provincial government has chosen to place their office outside of Victoria in Terrace. There's a reason for that. It's because there's a grand opportunity here around hydrogen production, hydrogen export, and hydrogen use. A number of the trucking companies that operate in this area operate about 75 to 78%. So when I mean a number, it's 5 or 6 companies operate 75 to 78% of the trucks that drive between here and Prince George, the Class 8 motors. And why that am I highlighting this is that a transition to hydrogen or hydrogen injection could be achieved very quickly and very easily with just a few groups shifting. Another key piece to all of this is Site C has been touted as this grand power source, 1,100 megawatt. Fortescue is asking for 1,000 megawatt. That's all of Site C. So what does the rest of the province do? And so the call to power that's happening in the spring here with BC Hydro presents another opportunity for us. And it doesn't always have to be run of the river. Locals will accept that there is wind here. And wind does not have to be strong. In fact, strong gusts is not good for wind generation. But consistent wind is, and that's what we have at high levels here in our ridges and our semi-mountainous area. So those are two key areas I see right off the bat, I think is really important for us to come to grips with and start realizing and getting information and investigation.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. The boom and bust cycle is an informal term for the economic fluctuations between periods of prosperity and depression. When the economic climate is favorable, businesses are likely to see high profits, resulting in higher spending and employment. Let us return to the conversation as Megan Bowles shares how the Regional District of Kitimat-Stikine helps communities prepare for the bust cycle.
We are kind of known as a boom and bust industry here, and a lot of the larger industry and larger projects come in, and not a lot of resources and monies go back to some of our communities. And so I guess a lot of what we do, or I do personally in economic development within the regional district, is try and support our local businesses to create economic resilience. And we do that through kind of a number of regions. I'm actually relatively new to my position. I've only been there for about 6 months, so I'm still learning myself, but I've come in at a really interesting time, and I'm excited because we're kind of coming to the end of our strategic plan for economic development. We just put out a new strategic plan for the whole regional district, but getting to kind of work towards creating a new economic development plan in the coming year or so is super exciting. So all of these conversations and feedback from local businesses, from industry, from major projects is huge. And I think one of the things that we are super appreciative of is when projects that are in kind of the developing stages come forward and have that initial contact with us and ask for perspective on some of the challenges that some of the larger projects bring to our area. So
we'll come back to some of the challenges in a moment, and we'll pick up on that. But first, Chad, maybe you can give us a little snapshot of your organization, Pacific Northwest Gas, and what you guys are doing in terms of projects and your kind of connection to that diversity of the economy, if you don't mind.
I think when we talk about things like hydrogen, we talk about LNG, we talk about CNG, we talk about things like synthetic diesel, all of these alternative energy sources and opportunities for this region. P&G talks about this stuff every day. Our core business is bringing gas to homes and local businesses for heat, but we also have, for P&G's existence, brought that same energy source to industry as raw feedstock material. Methanex was P&G's biggest customer. 85% of P&G's pipeline system capacity went to Methanex. And so we've been playing the resilience game and trying to diversify and find new customers for the last 20 years. So we are equally interested in all of these prospective opportunities for the area. And we talk about every day as part of our, high on our strategic priorities and objectives. And we are here to help the region diversify We recognize the limitations of things like Site C. The narrative around electrification. We believe that a diverse energy mix is going to be the future, particularly for northern British Columbia, and it has to be P&G is here to play a part in finding the responsible balance. We serve communities all across northwestern BC and northeastern BC that really live through the same types of challenges. Heavy reliance on the forest products industry, heavy reliance on other light industry, the ups and downs of oil and gas development and production. So it's not just the terrace area, it's not just Prince Rupert and Kitimat that our employees and our customers have experienced, but all across P&G's operating area, which makes us different from some of the larger utilities that operate in the city and have that level of stability. So we're here to be a part of hydrogen, we're here to be a part of LNG, and we're here to find ways to remain relevant in providing low cost and reliable energy to small areas such as terrace. So
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
An economic development officer works for a local municipality, regional district, or First Nations, actively liaisoning with investors, local businesses, and government to help spur economic activity in the community. In his final segment of Open Connections, Land and Economic Development Manager for the City of Terrace, Michael Pictou.
Anytime there's growth and diversification of an economy, new industries, there are definitely going to be challenges as that takes place. And so I guess and it was mentioned, that the North is unique than perhaps other parts of the province. And so I'm wondering if you could kind of touch on some of those unique challenges that you're faced with through this growth, and then perhaps if you had a magic wand, how might you overcome those challenges? And there could be public policy, could be regulatory frameworks, could be global pressures, labor shortages, any number of things that you guys want to talk about. But let's talk about some challenges and how to overcome them.
The region itself has been a little bit protectionist from community to community. I think the high-level view needs to happen. And I'll give an example of the Lower Mainland. I come from the container industry, and a truck that lines up for a container terminal in the Lower Mainland will wait 4 to 6 hours to get in and then drive another 2 or 3 hours to somewhere in, say, Surrey or the Tri-Cities, and they only get the one run. In Prince Rupert, it's 45 minutes, and you can get a turnaround in additionally probably about another 27 to 40 minutes to their destination. But their land is limited. Just like the Lower Mainland, the growth has, and I'll use the term bled or overflowed, into the neighboring communities. In fact, we call an area the Tri-Cities. We don't even reference one community. And this is where we have to look at our region and say, the benefit of Prince Rupert can be the benefit of Terrace. The benefit of Kitimat can be the benefit of Terrace. And whether it's warehousing, whether it's transportation, whether it is a product that needs to get out to a different market, there is the opportunity. It's not just in one spot. It's about being creative. And whether that creativity stems off of using an old derelict rail line, or in a new way that we load something onto something else, or a new way that we reuse a piece. That's the key. And this bigger vision or this bigger picture view is really important to overcome that challenge. Otherwise, we won't see the benefits. And then secondly, we have to call on the province to get behind and actually execute the Resource Benefit Alliance. There is no question that this area and the brothers and sisters of the area are hurting because we lose the ability to actually get some revenue out of our resources, our brothers and sisters' resources. It's really important that that resource does.
Where I personally see the most outcome for kind of what we're able to produce is when we do work together. We're a part of personally a lot of co-ops, especially in the tourism industry. And also I'm a part of a co-op actually with Mike through some of our workforce and resident attraction. And those are the groups that we're able to produce the most. And especially when you're looking at kind of local governments and municipalities, and we have small budgets for a lot of things. And so to be able to pool those resources and work together is huge. I think to kind of move away from partnerships, some of the other challenges that we face, I mean, where to start, really, but resources is a huge. We have communities within our regional district that don't have cellular, so we're a part of a regional connectivity knowledge network where we a lot of what we do is advocate, and a lot of that is not to point fingers completely at the province, but it is a lot of advocating for kind of our communities and our small groups to the province on issues that are not talked about and not known, and connectivity, road infrastructure in general is huge. And because we are such a large area, it's a difficult thing. But yeah, I think that's an area that happy to be a part of. And if there's anybody today who it has an issue that hasn't been brought forward, I think approaching local government, approaching provincial government especially can be challenging. We're kind of a stepping stone, and it's nice to have a local contact. So happy, I'm a friendly face, and my email is generally open to be that kind of mediator and hopefully to support.
I think our challenges are not unique to the area. Cost, resource availability, employees. We're in a competitive market. We transport and distribute natural gas, but we're definitely not an oil and gas company. But we have to play in the same space. The talented trades, the people that we need to maintain our infrastructure, all often have come up through the the oil and gas, conventional oil and gas sector, where pay is higher, things of that nature. So not unlike many other businesses here, our challenge is how do we attract good people? How do we keep those people? How do we draw on local availability?
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.